Good morning, everyone. This is Dan with Senior Ministry E-Bike Nation. Today we're going to be talking about battery care and battery degradation on riding your bike in colder weather. And again, I'm going to show you a couple batteries that I have here. This one is an aftermarket battery, and I use this battery on the aerial rider, Rydell. And you can see the contact points in there. And the other battery that I have is for my Rusher Komoda. This battery actually sits inside of the down tube of the bike. So they're two different style batteries, but they actually do the same thing. So, and when I speak of battery quality, you typically don't want to go to the low-end batteries that cost you $200 or $300. There's several of them out there for e-bikes, but they use batteries in there that are really inferior. They're just not good batteries for e-bikes. Three of the top brand that I'm going to mention that you probably ought to look for in battery cells, whether it be a 36 volt, 48 volt, 52 volt, it doesn't matter really the amp hours of the battery. Some are stronger, some are weaker than the others. But you want to look for probably either Samsung batteries that are actually put in that battery pack, LG, or Panasonic. Those are three of the top three, I think, out there. So when you go to look for a battery, rather be an aftermarket battery, and that's typically what you're going to get, is the batteries that you get when you purchase the bike. Some of those batteries are they're aftermarket batteries that are really good, as I'm getting ready to talk about, but the batteries that you purchase with your bike may be really an inferior battery. So you want to pay attention to that when you purchase the battery and what it actually has and things of that nature. But care and maintenance of a battery, you want to make sure that in the wintertime, especially below 35 degrees, you want to keep that battery inside. You don't want to store that in cold weather, especially in frigid weather. It can damage the components inside that battery. So anywhere from fall to spring, mid-spring, I will bring my batteries in from my bikes. I ride my e-bike all year long. So I do bring those batteries in at nighttime. And then I charge them inside, and sometimes I'll bring my bike inside. If I don't want to take the battery out of the bike, I'll just bring the bike inside and let it sit for a while. Don't charge that right away when you bring that battery in, because it can have some condensation on it, and it may be best to either wrap that in a blanket for about an hour or so, or a towel, something where that condensation can dry up on that battery. If anything will damage batteries, it will be moisture. These lithium-ion batteries are they're sensitive to water, so like any other battery. So you want to make sure that let that battery sit for an hour or so before you charge it, coming from either a really hot environment or a really cold environment. So the couple things about care and maintenance on them. Again, you want to store these things long-term, say for 3 to 6 months, where you're not going to ride your bike in the wintertime. You're going to want to store that battery at a 30 to 70% range as far as the percentage goes on the battery. You don't want that battery fully charged, and you don't want the battery completely depleted. When you store it long term, it's not good on the battery for either one of those. So you want to make sure that you do that, and that way when you go to ride your bike again after long term storage, you're going to want to make sure you charge that battery back up again to 100% before you ride the bike. Now, as far as chargers go, normally it's a 2 or 3 amp charger. And most of these newer chargers now, once that battery is fully charged, it will start cooling down. It may feel hot to the touch as it's charging after a half hour, 45 minutes. I've got a battery right now. I'm going to show you right now that I'm charging. And this battery, I just started charging it this morning. So the battery to the touch itself right now is pretty warm. That's normal. Now, when that battery is fully charged, it'll have a green light come on it, of course, and it will cool down the charger as well. Now, once you go to charge that battery, you don't want to put the cord into the wall first. You always want to put the cord that charges into the battery, then put it in the wall, because that charge coming out of the wall could give that battery a shock. So those are a couple of things you got to pay attention to when you're charging your battery. Now, I also use like aluminum foil pans. You buy it like Dollar General or whatever for putting a turkey in the oven or food that you're going to put in the oven. I put my batteries inside those aluminum foils. I don't have it on this one right now, but I normally do. This you want to keep it inside there. What that does for you, that it decreases the chance of a fire leaving that environment. It'll typically stay in that pan. I'm sorry. But the battery themselves, they are explosive. It's very rare you ever see this. You'll see a story online sometimes about a fire exploding or a battery exploding in a fire and starting a fire in an apartment or a house. That's because there was neglect on that battery when that person was charging that battery. So you just got to make sure that once they're kept in those aluminum foil pans or something that contain fire, that's something pretty important. Now, I never go to bed at nighttime with that battery still charging. I don't go anywhere if that battery is charging. You got to stay right where that battery is for the most part and keep an eye on it. Typical range of a battery charging is anywhere from 4 to 6 hours if it's pretty well drained on the battery. So that's kind of normal. So, but you typically on most chargers today, they do have a safety mechanism in them that once they're fully charged, it shuts that charger off. And you'll notice that in the cool down of the charging unit itself. And then another quick tip on this, when you're charging a battery or when you're storing a battery anytime, you see that contact point where the battery itself is being charged, which is here again. You want to make sure when you're storing that battery, they have little rubber cups come with the battery. Make sure that's on there, because I have noticed if anything metal hits that charging port, it'll spark. I mean, you're talking 48 volts to 72 volts on these batteries, and that's a lot of voltage. So you got to make sure those are protected when you're storing that battery. You're using tools to actually work on your bike. You got to make sure that you don't touch that contact point. I carry an extra battery when I ride. I can normally get anywhere from 30 to 45 to 50 miles on a full charge, and I'm 220 pounds. Now, that's with riding your bike at, say, pedal assist 2, which is on the lower end, which means you're going to have to push those pedals harder. That's conserving and saving on your battery. But if you get up into pedal assist 5 and you are using the throttle a lot, you're not going to get near the distance out of that battery. You're going to have degradation quicker. So those are some of the things to think about when you're riding. Riding an e-bike is like a learning curve. I mean, you never forget how to ride a bicycle, but it's a learning curve on an e-bike. So you just got to go slow and take your time, and you'll get it pretty quickly. So that's some of the things I wanted to mention about the battery degradation. It definitely makes a difference in the wintertime. If it gets down around 15 degrees or 30 degrees and lower, your battery is going to degrade quicker as you are riding. So, that's some of the things that you need to know about when you go out. So that's why it's important to carry an extra battery with you if you're going to go long term. You don't want to get stuck somewhere with the battery dying on you, because them bikes are pretty heavy. We're talking, one of my bikes is 52 pounds. My orange one is 72 pounds. That's without anything on it. So the more weight's on that bike, it's not going to degrade the battery a lot faster, but it does degrade it. And again, same in the summertime, if it gets up to 90 to 100 degrees, it may degrade that battery a little quicker. And when you get back, you want those batteries to sit for an hour or two before you start charging them. Remember to always charge, putting the cord into the battery first and then into the wall. So I hope that this has helped you understand a few things about battery and battery degradation. I always highly recommend to go to the higher end batteries. It may cost you a couple $100 more for that battery, but you're going to get it to last a long time. Now, they say you can typically get 1,000 charges into a battery, 1,000 different times. That's on the high end. Typically, a e-bike battery can last from 3 to 8 years if you take care of it. So I just wanted to point these things out about a battery. I can put a link in the description box about where I purchased the batteries. But you want to make sure and do your research and to get a really good quality battery. So that's about all I'm going to do about batteries and battery degradation. I hope you've liked this video. Share the video. Smash that subscribe button. And I will see you on the next video.